the 25th day of December 2014. For all celebrating a very Merry Christmas from all of us at News First. My name is Sonali Vanigabadaki.
And I'm Shah Rampati. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Over 8,000 displaced, almost 650,000 affected by extreme weather. Landslide warning issued for 10 districts. Persons who cannot bear to witness development are making absurd allegations. A statement from the President. Maitripala Sirisena says that the current government is stealing the civil rights of the people under the guise of providing relief. Christians the world over celebrate the birth of Christ.
Christians around the world celebrate Christmas today, marking the birth of their Saviour, Jesus Christ.
For Christians around the world, Christmas is a season of great joy. It is a time to celebrate the birth of the Saviour and God's great love towards His children. It is also a time of healing and renewal. Christmas, therefore, is a celebration of love, peace and joy. 2014 years ago, a bright star in the skies above Bethlehem indicated that the Saviour was to be born. Jesus Christ endured immense hardship to save the people of this world from sin. Devotees in their millions today celebrated the birth of Christ with joy, hope and happiness. Here in Sri Lanka, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit conducted a special Mass to mark Christmas Day.
දෙවියන් වහන්සේ කියන්නේ අපෙන් ඈත් වෙලා අපෙන් වෙන් වෙලා අපිට අල්ලන්නට බැරි කෙනෙක් නෙමෙයි.
God is not an entity that is distant from us, that we cannot touch. God took the form of a mortal man and was born in a certain location on this earth to a human family and a human mother. He lived among us and sacrificed His life out of His love for us. What is notable about the Christian faith is that we follow a God who loved us so much that He was willing to suffer a terrible death on the cross on our behalf. His love for us is so great that those with faith will never find themselves in want of anything. The more we represent the qualities of God and testify to those qualities, the more meaningful Christmas is to us, and we can live with that meaning. Christmas is to love.
ජීවත් වෙන්නට පුළුවන් වෙනවා. නත්තල කියලා කියන්නේ ප්‍රේමය.
Colombo too was lit up to celebrate Christmas. The festive cheer was there for all to see at the environs of our head office.
Now, the President, Opposition Leader and the Presidential Candidate Maitripala Sirisena issued their Christmas Day messages today. President Mahinda Rajapaksa in his Christmas message says that the world today that faces the enormous challenges of economic imbalance, poverty, environmental threats and terrorism could greatly benefit from the Christian message of love and tolerance. The President adds that the Christmas festival was also one of importance to all Christians as it was the time of family reunions and the sharing of gifts and transcends social and all other barriers. Opposition leader Ranil Wickremesinghe in his Christmas message stated that all must keep in mind that the light within us must not be put out. He adds that this dark situation needs to change and a bright nation which will benefit from good governance be created. Common candidate Maitripala Sirisena in his Christmas message says that humility is an important value of Christianity and it is a value to be cultivated and upheld by the devotees of any religion. He added that those who follow Christ the great teacher will no doubt become righteous people to be admired and emulated in turn by all right-thinking citizens of the country. The National Building Research Organization or NBRO has issued landslide warnings for 10 districts in the country. Director of the landslides unit at the NBRO, RMS Bandara, stated that residents of these areas should exercise extreme caution. Now, high-risk districts include Nura Elia, Badulla, Kandy, Kegol, Matale, Gaul, Matara, Hambantota, Ratnapura and Kalutara. Now, extreme weather conditions have brought day-to-day life to a standstill in many areas.
That's right. Now, flooding has been reported from a number of areas, while landslides and cut failures were also reported from the hill country. Tens of thousands of people have been displaced, while one life was lost to the extreme weather conditions today. People in Naula were among the worst affected following the opening of the spill gates of the Boathana Reservoir. Several villages were inundated when the Amban River broke its banks following the release of excess water from the Boathana Reservoir.
Although our reporters attempted to reach the affected area, they were inaccessible through this route. Now, nevertheless, our relentless reporters succeeded in finding their way to the affected areas via Alahara, Kabarava and Bowathana. Now, Manjula Prabhat Premaratna reports from Alahara.
අප මේ රැඳී සිටින්නේ නාවුල ඇලහැර ප්‍රධාන මාර්ගයේ. මා පසුපසින් මේ ගලා බසිනු ලබන්නේ.
The Newsfirst team is currently standing on the Naula Alhara main road. What you see flowing behind me is the Amban Ganga. You can also see the strong current. The water level of this right now is almost parallel to the road. In other words, it has increased by around 30 feet. This is because 4 spill gates of the Bowathana Reservoir have been opened. This is a very dangerous situation because low-lying areas along this river are at major risk of flooding. Moreover, residents living on the banks of this river are finding it difficult to commute. Our area correspondent Pradeep Gunawardana is on the other side of this river to bring us more details on the situation.
Newsfirst වෙනුවෙන් මම මංජුල ප්‍රේමරත්න නාවුල ඇලහැර ප්‍රධාන මාර්ගයේ සිට
මම මේ වෙනකොට රැඳී සිටින්නේ කබරව ගල්පොරගොල්ල ප්‍රදේශයේ අඹන් ගඟේ.
I am in the Kabarava Galporogola area. There are nearly 2,000 families residing in the vicinity of this river. The river developed strong currents last night. The water levels have risen by around 30 feet. The area also continues to receive rain. If the rain persists in this manner, the houses on the banks are at risk of going underwater.
පවතින බවයි මට කියන්න පුළුවන්නේ. මම Newsfirst වෙනුවෙන් ප්‍රදීප් ගුණවර්ධන කබරව ප්‍රදේශයේ සිට.
Heavy downpours are persisting in catchment areas where 57 reservoirs, which are under the purview of the Irrigation Department, are overflowing.
Irrigation Department Water Management Director Chanakya Megasena says the water levels of several other reservoirs are rising rapidly. Now, this has affected several districts including Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, Matale, Batikalo and Hambantota. All 8 spill gates of the Victoria Reservoir have been opened as the heavy showers continue. 2 spill gates of the Upper Kotmale Reservoir too have been opened. Our reporter says that the Castlebury Reservoir too is nearing spill level. All 12 spill gates of the Kaudula Reservoir have been opened by 4.5 feet each. Our reporter says the engineer in charge of the reservoir also inspected an anomaly on the bund of the reservoir and took steps to fortify the bund with sandbags. The Batiklo-Polonnaruwa road remains inundated in Gallala. Our reporter says that the only mode of transport available between Manampitia and Polonnaruwa is the railway. The Badadola area in Kanduruvilla remains inundated while paddy fields in Diulana too have been inundated. The Anuradhapura road was inundated in Padenia when the Dadiru Oya broke its banks. Transportation was brought to a complete standstill. The rising water level of the Dadiru Oya also inundated Mike Kulama in Maravilla Chilau with about 3 feet of water. A 17-year-old boy who was curious to see the flooding had drowned in a nearby tank. An emergency meeting was held at the Kurunegala District Secretariat today to discuss measures to be taken for people in the district as the Dadiru Oya began to overflow.
A program is underway together with the police, local administration and divisional secretariats to warn the people with loudspeakers. Our only request is that they heed our warnings and follow our instructions. Through that, it would be easy for us to manage this situation.
Transportation was brought to a standstill in Sitaru on the Kantale-Seruvilla road as a result of a bridge in the area being washed away. Major flooding was also witnessed at the sacred grounds in Anuradhapura.
I'm in the Mihindupura village located in the sacred grounds in Anuradhapura. The people in this area were severely affected by the recent flooding here. We saw how people returned to their homes this morning after the floodwater receded.
It is not only people that have been affected by the extreme weather.
Over 80,000 people have been displaced as a result of the extreme weather, while 647,000 have been affected overall.
The Disaster Management Centre reported that one death caused by the extreme weather conditions. An earth embankment collapsed on a house in Murutalawa, Peradine, killing Sunil Shanta, a father of one. The victim had been visiting relatives when the incident occurred, while two small children who were injured in the incident are being treated at the Peradine hospital. A train plying to Badulla was derailed between Bandaravela and Diyatalawa today following a rock slide. The railway control room said that services on the upcountry line are terminating at Nanoya as a result.
The atmospheric disturbance around the island has now developed into a low-pressure system. The Met Department is forecasting rains in excess of 150 millimeters in several parts of the island. A severe weather advisory is in effect off the eastern, southeastern and southern coasts of the island, where wind speeds could reach up to 80 kilometers per hour.
Meanwhile, issuing a statement, the United National Party says that only 12% of the victims of the flooding and landslides triggered by the heavy downpours have access to shelter. The statement reads that many of the victims have no access to safe drinking water or sanitation, and others are without food. The UNP calls on the government, civil society and all the people of Sri Lanka to participate in a national effort to aid the flood victims. President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that those who cannot bear to witness the development taking place in the country are making absurd allegations. The head of state made this statement while speaking at a public rally in Moratuwa yesterday.
Minister Jeevan Kumaratunga had organised this rally to muster support for President Mahinda Rajapaksa at the 2015 polls.
The 2010 Mahinda Chintana Vision for the Future Manifesto set the foundation for the development of the country. We transformed the stagnated economy. We increased the means of income of the people. We introduced the Divi Naguma program and provided relief to the people while creating a way for them to be successful. When all of this development is taking place, persons who cannot bear to witness this, persons who are jealous, have made absurd allegations. They have no policy nor a program.
Meanwhile, the president also met with the PETA Traders Association at the BMICH yesterday.
You witnessed Colombo and lived in Colombo. Look at how Colombo and PETA were in the past and today. Are there any extortionists? Ask ourselves these questions. We have an issue. That is, when we come to Colombo, there is no place to park a vehicle. We have a plan for that too.
The 14th major rally organised by the United People's Freedom Alliance targeting the presidential election took place in Kamarupitiya yesterday. Several ministers expressed the following views.
In the newspapers, there are reports of a division within the Sri Lanka Communist Party. It says that some are supporting Maithripala Sirisena. Even before Maithripala Sirisena was named as the common candidate, the majority of our Central Working Committee decided that the next presidential candidate would be Mahinda Rajapaksa. We are not prepared to reverse that decision.
Sri Lanka.
While in the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Maithripala Sirisena did not criticize the president or the policies. However, there were conflicts amongst us and we clashed with each other. We spoke out. We did it not for betrayal but to undertake the correct journey with the government. People who are afraid need to stay at home and not engage in politics. A person needs to have a backbone to engage in politics. He needs to be able to express his view.
යම්කිසි මතයක් ප්‍රකාශ කිරීමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙන්න ඕන.
When I met with Sirisena, I asked him when he was going to bring in the drug policy. I asked him if there were any obstacles. Silently, he stepped out and said that he was being restrained and he failed to bring it. What he meant to say that was the Rajapaksas restrained him. At this historic meeting in Kamburupitiya, I wish to say that if Sirisena had told us that no matter who had restrained him, we would have stepped out onto the streets and fought for him. But he failed.
New Democratic Front presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena says that the present government is providing relief to the people with the ulterior motive of drawing the people's votes. He made this statement at a public meeting in Casbeva last evening.
මේ රටේ ඉහළ ව්‍යාපාරික ශේෂ්ත්‍රයේ සියලු දෙනා බිය ගන්නලා ව්‍යාපාරිකයෙක්ගෙන් සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම ව්‍යාපාරික නිදහස නැති කරලා
The government has transformed itself into one that has intimidated the top business community and taken away all the business freedom in a bid to extort money. The local agriculture and other local industries were destroyed and everything was imported to the country through multinational companies. Today the people have understood this. The expenditure is 1/4 of the estimate while the remaining 2/4 went into their pockets. Today they are providing relief to the people in a bid to mislead you and take away your civil rights. Today you are aware of the manner in which the Ministry of Economic Development is distributing goods among the people. The officials at the Ministry of Economic Development, Samurdhi officers, Grama Niladhari officers, all of them are being used to bribe the people for their votes.
ආර්ථික සම්වර්ධන නිලධාරී සමෘද්ධි නිලධාරී කුපණී ග්‍රාම නිලධාරී අද සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම මැතිවරණ වලට ජනතාවට ඡන්ද සඳහා අල්ලස් දෙන්න තමයි ජනතාවට ඒක පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. මොකද්ද මේ ආණ්ඩුවට උනේ? බලන්න මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව මොකද්ද කියලා.
What happened to this government? Look at what has transpired in Parliament. If the Parliament continues to function like this, all that will be left in the Parliament would be businessmen. They are the casino owners. A shipment of drugs is caught, but the owner is never caught. Why? Because one of those who are in the King's Palace is the owner of that consignment, who provides permits for ethanol importation. This is the country today. This is the most unfortunate election in the history of this country. After this, it will always be elections that are free and fair. What the government is trying to do is something different. They said that he had hoppers with them the previous night and left. I responsibly say that although he left having hoppers, he did not eat away this country. There are no SLFPers in the government. We are the SLFPers. There are no SLFPers in Casbeva. Today, Casbeva has been given to a person who stole from SLFPers. They cast aside the ministerial portfolios and joined the opposition. However, accepting money and leaving the opposition is a very disgraceful act. What we need right now is to act together. What we need to do is once again direct the money that goes to the few pockets to the pockets of the masses. The pictorial warning of the cigarette packet was dragged on for over 2 years. Justice was never meted out from the side of those who fell victim to oral cancer. A henchman of a person who operates a casino is the one who imports coal without a permit. One reason for me to leave the Power and Energy Ministry was that casino person. 1,500 rupees is being spent on every electricity unit consumed for the coal mafia. This is the inner circle of the leader who saved the country. This is what is in the development. Will you give it a third term? Another meeting was held in Kiribati yesterday to muster support for Maithripala Sirisena. A group of Mahinda Rajapaksa's thugs came to surround Sirikota. They sent the patriotic thugs of Bimal Weerawansa. Their General Secretary too was there. Can this be allowed during an election period? Is this democracy? They are trying to win this through intimidation. We will not be subject to intimidation. A large number of opposition public representatives were present for the meeting that took place in Homagama yesterday. A group of Sitawaka Pradesh Sabha members extended their support to Maithripala Sirisena at the meeting. For 3 years, we too had to eat bread with coconut sambal, but we never backed down. This corrupt ruler could not do that. They even resorted to harassing my children. We need to change this political culture. After the work is done, they forget about it. We need to bring in a political culture where promises are fulfilled, and if they are not, they should be sent home.
New Democratic Front presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena has sent a letter of demand for 2.5 billion rupees from Health Minister Tissa Attanayaka. The letter of demand has been sent over inconvenience caused by Tissa Attanayaka over the preparation of a forged document and using the media to gain publicity for it. The letter of demand reads that Maithripala Sirisena had not reached any agreement with Ranil Wickremesinghe on the 1st of November. Sirisena points out that the document that Tissa Attanayaka presented to the media was a forged one. Sirisena has accused Attanayaka of defamation by presenting a fake document and added that the objective of Attanayaka was to please the current political leader.
Two local politicians extended their support to opposition presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena today. The crossover took place at a media briefing in Colombo.
Deputy leader of the Ceylon Workers' Congress and Central Provincial Councillor M. Udayakumar and Noora Elia Pradesh Sabha member Nagaraj crossed over to support Maithripala Sirisena.
I have decided to join the United National Party and support the common candidate Maithripala Sirisena in the forthcoming presidential election. I am hoping that the new government to be formed will solve the long-lasting major problems of the country as well as to improve the quality of life of the plantation sector as well. The major issue the plantation sector is facing, the housing problem. The plantation workers are in a pathetic condition. They still live in 200-year-old lined rooms which doesn't have even a basic facilities. Reading the manifesto of the common candidate Maithripala Sirisena, who has pledged to offer housing with ownership rights to the deserving plantation workers. I am joining the UNP honestly to make this an actionable reality and to make this happen more than a promise.
Speaking to reporters today, Minister of Mass Media and Information Keheli Rambukwala commented on the crossovers of local politicians.
Lanka Pradesh Sabha Mantiro 2700 විතර ඉන්නවා.
There are between 2,700 to 2,800 Pradesh Sabha members in the country. Let's assume if 5% are with the common candidate, 150 to 160 persons can shift places. That is natural. But when it is just 5 persons, you assume it to be a big number. That is the Pradesh Sabha. However, overall, a shift of 100 amongst 2,700 is only 2 to 3%. Come the next meetings, there will be more. This is like an installment plan. They come in installments. You cannot get everything at once. We'll talk about this come the 1st or the 2nd. No, it will not. They will not have a major impact on us.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Sajith Premadasa, says that an era where justice is served to all needs to be created. He made this statement at an event held in Tissa Maharama yesterday.
This meeting was held in Konvalana, Tissa Maharama. Are we going to reappoint a government that turns a blind eye to rape? Stages are set alight, speakers are destroyed, When such destruction is taking place, is it the responsibility of the government to create a group of OICs who cannot carry out their duty? I wish to say this to the police officers as well. Create an election environment where the people can cast their vote in a free and fair election. We will not leave any room for revenge to be sought from any police officer or security officer who works properly. All those who commit wrong will be brought before the law after our victory.
The
United People's Freedom Lawyers Association convened a media briefing yesterday. Participants commented on the manifestos of the two main candidates for the presidential election.
The primary intention here is to change the presidential system. But there are negative qualities. I accept this too. I clearly accept this. The negative qualities need to be done away with. There are negative qualities in the election system too. Mahinda has pledged to remove these negative qualities within a certain time frame. Maithripala's entire manifesto from the first page to the last is a critique. In one paragraph, he says that he will reinstate former Chief Justice Shirani Bandaranayake. Maithripala hopes to appoint a new Chief Justice in 100 days. That is former Chief Justice Shirani Bandaranayake. The Supreme Court is not a dual SIM phone. How is he going to do this? Why is he lying? He says he will abolish the executive presidency within 100 days. Does the general public in this country really want to do away with the executive presidency? Personally, I believe that the executive presidency is necessary for this country. He says he will abolish the executive presidency and install an executive prime minister. So he is changing the name of the same old beast. They say they will abolish the executive presidency, but they will not abolish anything that requires a referendum. How can this be? If the executive presidency is to be abolished, then there must be a referendum.
New Democratic Front presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena met with the Muslim community of Central Colombo today. This meeting was organised by UNP Central Colombo organiser Mujibur Rahman.
This meeting took place at the Exhibition and Conference Centre down Dr. Vijayawardena Mawatha in Colombo and was attended by a number of MPs representing the United National Party.
I understand that there are serious issues with regard to education in the Muslim community. There are some shortcomings in schools as well. There are also shortcomings in the rural development of the country. When we take over the nation, we will not look into whether all these people are Buddhists, Sinhalese, Muslims or Tamil. We will treat all equally as a government. A leader needs to set foot on the ground and walk amongst the people to understand the needs and aspirations of the people. The primary responsibility of the government is not to keep the people in hunger and provide the least cost food to the people. We need to understand the housing, drinking water and health issues and provide the necessary solutions to the people. I wish to state to you that when I am elected on the 9th with the vote you cast on the 8th, my objective is not to reign in that position.
My friends, you may recall that there were issues with regard to good governance in the country. There were issues with regard to the rule of law. Now they are going to Kathankudi in the east, saying that we are all children of one mother. When we spoke against the incident in Darga town, we were taken to the 4th floor. There is no solo journey for the Muslim community. Democracy and good governance are interconnected with all the social forces in this country. It is only if we come together with these forces that the Muslim community can achieve good governance and equality.
Firstly, we need to rescue this country from this national menace and create a country in which we can live in, a country where we can engage in politics and a country where we can be buried in peace. After that, we can go on with the politics. It is because of that we have a united alliance in the opposition. Opposition leader Ranil Wickremesinghe took the decision. Even civil organizations announced that the executive presidency led to the destruction of the country. In business news, the Department of Census and Statistics says that rubber production in the third quarter of this year had dropped by 32%. According to the Department of Census and Statistics, rubber production had seen a decline of 21.1% during the third quarter of 2013. The department adds that the lower demand for Sri Lankan natural rubber in the world market had dropped, attributing to this situation. In this backdrop, rubber cultivators have not come forth for sapping rubber as a result of the low income. The Department of Census and Statistics points out that this situation had led to a position where the wages of rubber sector employees cannot be increased. This has also led to a decline in youth recruitment to the industry. According to reports from the Rubber Development Department, exports in the third quarter of this year had dipped by 41.5% in connection with this year. In more international news, the mayor of the St. Louis suburb of Berkeley urged calm after a white police officer killed a black 18-year-old who police said pointed a gun at him, reigniting tensions that have lingered since the death of Michael Brown in neighboring Ferguson.
That's right. Now a crowd of about 300 people gathered at the gas station where Antonio Martin was shot, throwing rocks and bricks in a scene reminiscent of the sometimes violent protests that followed Brown's death.
Dozens of protesters confronted police as they gathered near the site where a white policeman shot dead a black man brandishing a gun at a suburban St. Louis gasoline station. The shooting happened late on Tuesday at a gas station in Berkeley, Missouri, within walking distance of the Ferguson street on which a white police officer shot dead 18-year-old Michael Brown in August. The Berkeley encounter unfolded after the officer, a 6-year veteran of the town's police department who was responding to a report of a theft, got out of his car to walk to two men at the gasoline station. The mayor of Berkeley said this incident cannot be compared with other recent controversial shootings in Missouri and New York.
And when I got there, we were all saying the same thing. Here's a white policeman killing a black young man. So when does this stop? And I can assure you that did not happen last night. At this point, it appears, and let me say that strongly, it appears that the person that's deceased, that I do not want to name, was pointing a gun, which was found at the scene, at the police officer. You couldn't even compare this with Ferguson or the Gardner case in New York.
Some 70 people were on hand to observe a vigil at the site where the shooting took place. Protests in Ferguson have taken place for months and spilled over into violence when a grand jury decided a month ago not to charge the police officer who shot Brown. Demonstrations in cities across the country gained in momentum when a New York grand jury decided not to indict a police officer over the death of Eric Garner, a 43-year-old black man who died in July when police tackled him and put him in a chokehold. Russia saw a white Christmas today as a massive snowstorm in Moscow caused delays to more than 150 flights and brought traffic to a standstill. None of Moscow's 3 airports were closed, but all 3 were hit with severe delays, including more than 100 flights being delayed from Domodedovo, south of the city. The snowstorm began early today, and the Russian Meteorological Office said it expects up to 4 inches of snow to fall in Moscow in a single day. Congestion in Moscow reached a level which normally happens only occasionally every year during rush hour. The congestion was so bad today that several cabinet ministers got stuck in traffic and arrived late for the last session of the government this year.
And in sports news, it's cricket. Sri Lankan cricket captain Angelo Matthews says that the New Zealand tour will be a challenge for the team's new players.
Now, the skipper made this comment while speaking to reporters ahead of tomorrow's first test against the Kiwis.
A 5-day test match between New Zealand and Sri Lanka opens on Friday at the country's newest test venue, Hagley Oval, a purpose-built ground on the vast green space of Hagley Park on the western edges of Christchurch, Central City. It will be the first international cricket match in New Zealand's second largest city since the February 22, 2011 earthquake that devastated Christchurch. Commenting on the game, Lankan skipper Angelo Matthews said that the first test will be a new experience for the young players in the team. Meanwhile, New Zealand's batting coach Craig McMillan says that his batsmen are ready to play in the Oval, which favours pace bowlers. Kiwi skipper Brendan McCullum said that the team is excited to play the Boxing Day test. Cricket New Zealand believes that the opening day will see a big crowd as tickets for day one have already been sold out.
And that wraps up our Christmas Day's edition of News First. I'm Sonali Vanikabadage.
And I'm Shayan Rampati. We leave it tonight of footage of how several parts of the world celebrated Christmas. Well, wishing you again Merry Christmas and have a safe night.